Hi, welcome. Today we're here with Brit. Hello, Brit. Thank you for joining us. Introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you.
I'm Brit Phelan. I'm a filmmaker and photographer. I got started in advertising and I just finished my first feature film. So I'm just constantly making things and excited to have this opportunity with the film festival world.
Well, thank you. Thank you for joining us. All right. So, what made you want to be a filmmaker? How did that happen?
Oh, I have always wanted to be a filmmaker since I was a little kid. I was just always acting out things, or I would think about music videos and go and see TRL, the top 10, and see if my ideas lined up with what was coming out, or do spin-offs of TV shows that I was watching. And then, yeah, I thought for a second it switched when I was a kid. I thought I wanted to be a lawyer for a second because I love the movie My Cousin Vinny so much. Um, and then
That's a great
I
movie.
it's an amazing movie. And it made looking at being a lawyer look really cool. So I tried pursuing that, and I remember in college for my first year, and then I realized, oh no, it's filmmaking through and through. That's all I want to do.
So, how long have you been doing this and how many movies have you made?
I have been in advertising, making films and advertising probably for the last 10 years. I've just been hustling since I graduated. And yeah, I've only made one feature. I have made probably two shorts. I'm just launched a little series called Looking for Love that I'm excited about, and I have another film coming out that I'm filming this summer. So it's in the beginning of the narrative world, but I've been in advertising for about 10.
Okay, great. All right. So, when you first told your family that you weren't going to be that lawyer, but you're going to be in film, what was your family and friends? What were their response? Get your law degree first, then you can do whatever you want, or were they supportive?
Yeah, no, I grew up with just me and my mom. And so with that being like a single mom, I think you just want security for your kid. So saying like I want to be a filmmaker, it doesn't necessarily ring security and that you're gonna be okay and make and be financially okay. So I was actually a double major. I was a filmmaker, but also I had an accounting degree on top of my filmmaking degree. Um, so yeah, it was a I support you, but please have a backup plan. But I don't know if I believe in the black backup plan, but I wanted to make sure my mom wasn't like losing hair or sleep over
Right,
my
right.
decisions.
Okay. So do you have your tribe, your group of filmmakers that you have? Because it sounds like you live in two different places. Do you have one in each, or is the same is spread out?
Yeah, so filmmaking, it's like all I do. It's like all my friends are in it. It's something that I just feel, yeah, it's like I wake up and that's all I want to do. I think it's such a fun way of expressing myself, but also creating a community. And so I live between New York and Paris, and I have a community of filmmakers in both. I also lived in LA for 6 years, so pretty much anytime I'm in one city, we're up to doing something. So my Looking for Love series, for example, I've filmed in LA, in New York, and in Paris. And yeah, I just have this community that we just love making stuff. So that's what we're constantly doing.
Okay, cool. That's great. All
Yeah.
right. So what made you decide to do this film, the film that you have inside the festival?
Yeah. Um, This film is like super personal. I felt like I needed to discover something for myself, honestly, like on a personal level. And at the time, I was, doing well in commercial, had no idea how to make a narrative film or like transition into the narrative world. So I was doing these like little projects kind of to put myself through a film school because I didn't go to film school per se. I just took like film classes in college. And so I was putting myself through film school through my own little projects. And, it was kind of lining up with life where I was like, I feel like I need to change. Something in my life needs to change. It's not working for me right now. Like I'm not happy and I don't really know where it's stemming from because I feel like I've worked out certain things in my life. And I felt like I could navigate all the things except for this one big gigantic question of what does it mean or how does it affect me by not having a dad growing up? Because I think for me growing up, I was always like, oh, other people think this is such a big issue, but I grew up being like, I got my mom and I feel good. Um, but then kind of reaching a point where I was like, okay, my relationships aren't where I want them. I'm not where I want to be. I don't really feel happy. And I just kind of traced down all of these steps of like, okay, what am I flipping over to see how I can evolve, I guess, as a person. And since I was doing that film project simultaneously, I was like, okay, I don't know what it means. I don't know what it means to grow up without a dad and how that's affected me. So I wound up buying myself a ticket and my mom a ticket to Germany to kind of just trace my steps. I guess it was to find my dad, but I hadn't talked to my mom hadn't talked to him since I was like 2. So there was I had no current information to find him. So I didn't think, okay, I'm gonna find him or anything. It was more to figure out my history and kind of figure out myself. And so I did that, and life unfolded, and I wound up meeting him, and I recorded everything besides the meeting him because that was obviously extremely personal and emotional. And I got back to the States because he's in Germany. So I got back in the States and I was like, what the F did I just do to myself? And I didn't know how to cope. I didn't know how to process. And I feel like I just opened up a huge can of worms and honestly felt worse than going before I went. Um, and I think to process and kind of put myself through therapy, honestly, I just kept going with this film and I changed it from I was like, okay, well, I have all this documentary, but I'm not gonna do a documentary that's way too personal. But how can I use this to kind of channel my life and kind of use it as a reflection of self and figure out what I was feeling and figure out how to find closure and healing. Um, so it kind of just snowballed into this thing where it was like this 3-minute video gone into, okay, I'm now making this complex feature film that's super meta. Uh, but yeah, so it kind of worked with my life. It found me in a way.
Okay, so it sounds like the film decided you were going to do it.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess in some ways you've answered this next question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. What was the hardest part and what was the most fun part of making this movie?
The hardest part was life was simultaneously happening. So I wasn't making a documentary. I was making something scripted, but my reality kept on changing. So the script kept on changing because I wasn't settled. So it was like from the time I met my dad to finishing the film took 4 years. And in that process, a ton of things happened. Like I met my dad. I came back a month later from meeting him. We were talking, and a month later, he didn't want anything to do with me again. And then I have to like, oh gosh, what do I feel about that? How do I process that? And then, the pandemic happened. So then there's like a hiatus on the filmmaking. And then so a year after meeting him, my dad actually passed away. And so then that like evoked a whole nother thing because there was it was final. Like what I had in that moment was all I was gonna get. So truly, what is closure? Like and felt really um like it was urgent to figure out what that was because I had no freaking clue. And I had this huge emotional burden to figure out and process. So I think the hardest part was that I was basing it so close off of my reality, and my reality hadn't unfolded completely. So I was figuring out how to process and how to do things, and navigating a film while navigating my own emotions. But I think also the most fun was that process as well. So I guess it was like a double-edged sword,
So
because I
you
think
are.
yeah, because it challenged me to like really reflect and adapt. And also I think too, one of the things that I've said a lot in the process of this was like, um I think the reason why I kept going with a movie is, sometimes I think that might sound weird to some people, like why don't you just sit on your emotions and just process it? Why are you making a movie on it? And to me, I think um self-discovery and healing yourself from that is really freaking hard to commit to. But making a film, I love making films so much that that's so easy to commit to. So it kind of was like my way of tricking myself to help myself in a way, because I knew that I would continue forward with the film because I love making films so much. Going through your own emotional baggage is so heavy and like daunting that like you don't always want to commit to that. So um I think it was, yeah, the thing that was the hardest was also the best, because it challenged me to continue to move forward, to
Mhm,
continue to truthfully look at myself, and see what I was feeling, to express what I was feeling, and and make, like, process it and actually make thoughts and decisions of how I wanted to be or become, you know?
mhm. Okay. I'm sorry. I hope this isn't too painful of a conversation.
I'm sweating a little, but it's okay.
I'm sorry. All
No,
right.
it's good. When you make a film about meeting your dad, it's bound to happen.
Yeah. All right. So are you the type of filmmaker? It sounds like you do a lot of commercials. So in some ways that's an answer. And the commercials are gone, they're out there on the air or whatever. But are you the kind of filmmaker that you make a film and you may look at it, you may say, oh, I could have done this better or that better. Or are you the type of filmmaker that sits there and goes, someday I'm going to get enough money and I'm going to remake that and fix all my errors. Which type of filmmaker would you say you are?
I think I'm somewhere in between. Hear me out, because I think I do that during the process. Like I might be going one way, and then I'm very open to, if I see another way that's going to be a stronger way of telling the story, I'll adapt and start refilming that. I'm okay with losing scenes and really like going after the best story. But I do think, like I said, if Finding Dead took me 4 years, I think I think it's something that I'm not gonna ever say never, because I feel like that's just silly. But I think it is what it is. And I think, yeah, moving forward, I think it's like, once I have finished that process, then I'm okay with moving forward, because there's always another story, and I have so many ideas and stories and parts of myself that I want to share. Um, and I think that part I'm ready to let go of. And so I don't see myself recreating it. I definitely see myself watching it and seeing like, oh, this could have been better, or that could have been better. But I think there's also really like, there's beauty in that, because it's just seeing your process and where you were at that stage.
How would you define success in the indie film world? We all know that we're not going to buy private jets and yachts. We're not going to pull a Taylor Swift from making an indie film. So how would you define success
Yeah.
in the film world?
Um, Filmmaking is such a process, and to even finish it, there's so many people, it's so much effort and so much energy, and to even just complete a film is such an amazing accomplishment, I think, after doing one. Um, and and I think there's two ways that I've felt successful already with this film. is that moment that I hit export for the like when I was like, okay, it's done. I just remember this huge wave of peace coming over me because I was just like, okay, all of this energy that everybody has put into this thing is finally come together to this one thing. And that's it, like it felt like a weight lifted off of me. And I feel like that felt like success, that together a group of people made this thing to completion. It went from an idea to a physical thing. And then watching it back myself and like being able to watch it back and it have evoke or it was able to evoke emotion, that felt like success. And then having the people that have watched it, um you know, stir up their own feelings, their own stories, every time that somebody relates back to this story in their own way, I feel like that's also success. um and those small conversations of somebody identifying with the film or with what I went through, uh I feel like that's the best part for it for me.
Okay, my last question is, so
Okay.
somebody comes along and goes, hi, Aunt Brit, I'm going to be a filmmaker just like you. What would be your advice? What would you say to that comment?
uh Film everything. um Film everything. And I think the challenge of being an artist and a filmmaker is like we all have these really big goals of where we want to be and where we want our films to be. And I think the more and more that I learn to just love the making of it,
Mhm.
like that to me is the best part. And sometimes you forget that. I think that's like in life too. Like it's like you had this amazing summer vacation, but you were like more like, you know, you're always planning for the future. And I think just like actually being present in it and really enjoying like every day that you were on set, every moment with posts, like all of that effort to make it is the best part. Like it's better than any review that you're gonna get, anybody. Yeah, like the end product, I think, in filmmaking isn't the best part. I think it's like the community and people you're making things with, to me, that's become the best part. And I feel like the quicker you can learn that, the happier you are, because you're not like beating yourself up, being like, why hasn't it gone here or there, or why am I not here? So yeah, I think learning to just enjoy the making of the thing.
So that would be your advice. Just learn to enjoy the making of the film.
Yeah, like and don't get caught up in the end results. Like focus more in what you're making. And the end results can be there and you have goals and that's important, but like the making part is the most important part.
Great. So any have any last words or advice for young filmmakers or somebody out there going, gee, should I make a movie or anything, or just we're
I
good?
think if you have an idea, make it. I don't think you need much to make a film. Technology is so cool. And honestly, like even on your iPhone, if you have a good idea, I think that beats anything. Like I don't think you need things to make things. I think you just need yourself and a good idea and some fun friends to make it, to be honest. Like yeah, I guess that would be my next advice is like, don't let anything prohibit you from making it. Just go out and make it and do it in any means that you can. And don't let like, oh, I need this, I need that, I need a big camera, I need a big crew, I need tons of money, because that just feels daunting. And a good idea will shine through any quality of way you make the film.
Okay, great. Thank you very much for joining us.